Nonprofit Visionaries. This is Shalita, the nonprofit Easter O'Neill. I hope all has been well with you. Today, I wanted to talk to my nonprofit visionaries who have an established nonprofit organization. They've been around for at least 3 years or more, and maybe things have gotten a little stale, and you're looking to relaunch your nonprofit organization, and you're not quite sure how. Right? A lot of my videos have been towards those nonprofit visionaries who are just getting started, but you need some support too. I'm here for you as well, okay? Because times have changed. Times have changed over the years. From even when I started my first nonprofit, times have changed. Technology has changed. How people communicate has changed. So I just wanted to share 5 ways that you can relaunch, revitalize, jumpstart your nonprofit organization so that you can get back into it. That vision still hasn't gone anywhere. You might be a little frustrated with where you are right now. Maybe your board, hasn't been the best board and things have been really stagnant. But so let's get into it. 5 things. I've got my notes here, so I'm good, okay? So first, brush yourself off, okay? Brush yourself off. Breathe. Don't be upset with yourself. A lot of times we will internalize where we are when we're not happy with what we're doing. It's all right. We grow. Just as our organization grows, or we want our organization to grow to a certain point, as professionals, as nonprofit visionaries, as executive directors, we grow, we shape, we change as well, and that's okay. And sometimes we grow and we shape in a way that might either outgrow our organization, or our organization needs us to shift in order for it to go to the next level. And I'll go so far as to say that the organization needs you to shift. If you are watching this and you've had an organization for a number of years and it has gone nowhere, it's been stagnant, or you've maintained a certain level of success and you're no longer happy with that anymore, it's time to start with you. And I would encourage you to get executive coaching in order to help walk you through, or what are some things that you're dealing with. Because I tell you, it helped me when I had my previous nonprofit organization and I was able to get a company to provide executive coaching to me, because a lot of times it felt like I was alone. When you're at the top running a nonprofit organization, the things that you have to be privy to and the way that you understand the organization from a higher level, not the people that work for you, and even sometimes the board don't really understand everything that goes into it, and all the frustrations and the challenges and the barriers that go into it, and it can feel like a very lonely place. So when I had my executive coach, she was amazing. Her name was Renee Barunas, and it was almost sort of like therapy in a way, because at the time I was having a difficult time with one of my board members, and she really was a sounding board for me. She really helped me to think through what the conflict was and the best way to approach resolution. She helped me to look at what are some of the things that I needed as an executive coach, or executive director, and as an individual, right? Personally as well. What are some things that I need from this role? How do I need to move in it? So she gave me concrete tools to be able to bring myself out of it and bring the organization through the little bump in the road that we had hit because of a conflict with a board member. So I encourage you to get executive coaching. Look into companies that provide that. Reach out to your network to see who they've used and who they would suggest you try, and make sure that that's in your budget, because you are the visionary. You are the leader. You're the one that has this connection to your organization. And so don't think for 1 minute that there's a divide or distinction between who you are and how you run your organization, because there isn't. So even if you might be going through some things personally, a lot of times in our community and our society and our country, it's frowned upon for us to be human, or you don't bring that to work because that's you know, that's emotion stuff. That's what emotions. Don't do that. Don't. We are emotional beings. We're human. You're emotional. So even the lack of, or the perception of the lack of emotion is an emotion. So understand that. And the things that are going on with you internally, that at home and your personal life, will influence how you move with your organization and with your professional life. So understand that. So whether it's enrolling in a leadership program or personal development class, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how long you've been doing this work. We are all becoming. And if you think for one moment that you've stopped learning, there's nothing that anybody can help you with, then you should really stop trying to run a nonprofit organization, because at that point you've become stagnant, uncoachable, and your organization will not thrive. So it's an uncomfortable realization that we have to come to, but you have to start with yourself and look at yourself. How are you contributing to the stagnation of your organization, or how have you contributed to how far you've gotten, and who do you need to be and become personally that's in line with your destiny, right? To take your organization to the next level. I had to understand that the person I was when I started my first nonprofit organization 10 years ago is not the same person that I am now. My life experiences, my circumstances, the way I look at things, my perception, my perspective on things has greatly shifted, and I needed it to do that, right? So now the type of organization that with my foundation that I've launched, that I'm running, is a more mature, robust, connected organization, because that's who I am right now. Okay? So consider executive coaching. Put your pride aside. Put your ego aside. Okay? And actually look at, have you been taking care of yourself? What messaging are you putting out there to the world? Those are the type of people you attract. Is that good for your nonprofit organization? And if not, it's time to shift. Now next, number 2. Clean up your board. So now we go in and we go out. Clean up your board. There are so many nonprofit organizations and nonprofit visionaries that I've spoken to that have a stagnant board. You have board members that have been on your board for 15 years. If you've got a board member that's been on your board more than 6 or 7 years, there's something that I would reconsider that, okay? But you've got people that have been on the board for 30 years. You might be an organization that's 30 years old, and you've got the same people on your board for 30 years. Ask yourself, what kind of organization do you want to run? Are you in touch with the people you want to help, or are you just having a nonprofit to have one to tell people what you're going to give them? There's a difference, right? If we're starting, and people start nonprofits for different reasons, but I would hope that you start a nonprofit because you want to fill a gap in the community or in the world, that you want to engage and uplift and empower the people who you're trying to help. And part of that is progressing and listening to them and evolving as an organization. And you can't evolve as an organization if your board is not evolving, if you don't have new people, fresh people on your board. And if you have a toxic boards, toxic, again, look at it. Don't you be mad at me, because I'm #nonprofit no filter. But look at your contribution to the makeup of your board, because people attract who they are, right? Or attract people that can relate or that fit into some sort of piece that we're going through. And I will say that because that was me too. That was me, and I didn't want to say it. Even with whether it's your board, whether it's your staff and your employees, if you continually are getting the same type of employees or the same type of people that are doing the same type of things, you're having the same type of problems, it's an internal look. How are you contributing? How are you encouraging that behavior or attracting that type of person? And not to say that that's you, that you are a problem. You might be, but you might not be. But it's about taking a look at your influence in the situation. Are you overlooking certain credentials because you want people on your board? Are you on your team and your staff, your employees? Are you afraid of rejection? Or that people are going to leave you, so you try to be super nice? Or Are you super controlling? And so you are that person that always hands down the hard decisions, and you're always rough on everybody, and you always got to have your hands around what somebody's doing, and you're always micromanaging. And if you are that, you will see the types of team members and board that you attract support that. So before we say all these people on my board have problems and they don't know what to do, okay, well, have you taken control as far as providing direction? Have you told them what your expectations of them and their role is? Have you taken the responsibility of making sure that they know what they're there for and how that ties into the mission of the organization? Because if you haven't, and they're just there because you asked them to be there 30 years ago or 15 years ago, then you have to question, how effective are you really? And what is the real reason why you started a nonprofit to begin with, and why you still continue to be in this space? So clean up your board. And one way you can do that, I hope in your bylaws you have a clause about the length of time that people can spend on your board. And if not, I suggest you go back and you update your bylaws, and you include what the expectation is around board of the directors, their length of time on the board, as well as the members at large. How often do they need to turn over? What's the process for that? And then maybe put a plan in place for people to gradually transition off of the board. You don't want to just, get rid of everybody at the same time. People have done it, but I don't necessarily suggest that, okay? But you want to put in a plan, to be able to start rotating people off, because they have been there over the last however many years. They've given their time. They may not have been all that productive, but they still have given of themselves. And you have to take responsibility as to the type of environment and culture that you've created, because you were the one that they all came together for, right? So clean up your board, start rotating people off so that you can get some fresh perspectives on. Also, revisit your future plan. I call it, I'm not the only one that calls it this, but the future plan. Typically they use that in business. Nonprofit is technically a business, but your future plan instead of saying strategic plan. Some people, strategic plan, so boring, right? But it's your future plan for your organization. What you may have had in mind when you started your organization, I'm quite sure by now you have seen that things have shifted, evolved, changed in the world, in your work, in your field, and maybe you haven't been as responsive and responding to those shifts and changes. But now's the time to do that. Revisit your future plan. Where do you want to be? And maybe where you want to be is the same, but the way you get there has changed. So your tactics, there's the business thing, your tactics have shifted, and they need to shift. Bring people together in the community who have rallied around you, who you've made connections with, to do a think tank. I like to call them think tanks or convenings, where you have maybe 20 to 30 people get together who are from different areas and fields. They may not all be in your same field, but they all have transferable skills and expertise and things that they can bring to the table. Bring your board members around the table to look at, okay, this is what we've done. Look at what your successes are. Sometimes we are really quick to go to what isn't working, but look at what has worked and why it has worked. And then start looking at, well, what are some things that you can shift? You still want to get here, or maybe your vision, where the end goal, because there should be an end goal of where you want to be, has changed. Okay, get together. Let's talk about that, right? Also, you want to make sure that when you're talking about that, you're incorporating what's going on now in the world. You have your fingers on the pulse of regardless of what field that you're in, of what's going on, so that can help inform you. Make sure you have your clients, I like to call them clients, or population that you're helping, or that you're wanting to help, or that you have helped over the years. Have them at the table. They're stakeholders. You have to take an assessment. What do they think of your performance over these years? And I know sometimes there's fear in that. We don't want to open our doors and engage people in that way because we're afraid of what they might say about us or afraid of what they might say about our nonprofit organization. But you want to invite that, because if people are going to come and care enough to come around the table to tell you something that you may not want to hear, those are the types of people, excuse me, got a little bit too passionate. Those are the type of people who you want there, because they're going to help you create a better vision or better process to getting to where you want to be, because ultimately you're there to help them. Ultimately you have to work with them. You have to work with people in the community, so their thoughts and their feelings, you have to take that into consideration if you want to be successful. Okay, so, and you might want to get a nonprofit coach to help you with that. Shameless plug, I do that. I do think tank convenings. I do strategic plans or mind mapping with nonprofit organizations at all stages of their development. So if you need someone to come in and bring you all together to work through this process and guide you and facilitate this, I'm here for that. ShalitaO'Neal.com. Even if it's not me, let it be someone. Okay, there are companies out here too that will do this work for you. Do what's best for you, but do it. Last thing I'll say, and actually it's four really big ones. I said 5 initially. The last thing I'll say is rebrand yourself. Okay, rebuild your brand and your messaging. Okay, if you have the same logo and the same website from 30 years ago, we need to talk. Okay, things have changed. Software has changed. Technology has changed. The way people interact, communicate, learn has changed. You must change. Again, through the process of bringing stakeholders in, people you've serviced, you've helped, you've worked with, you've employed, you've partnered with in the community, bring them around the table for feedback on your brand. Is your messaging what you want it to be? Is the way you're communicating with the community the way that you should be communicating with them? Are they getting the message in the right way that you're trying to convey? You need to bring them to the table to see what they think of you and what they think of your brand. I had to do this as well. My organization was probably about 5 years old when my previous one, when I decided, okay, let's do a rebranding, because the name was really long. You know, over the years, people were kind of confused about what we did. And again, technology changed. The way people interacted online and with websites changed. So we went through a whole rebranding process, and we were grateful and honored and blessed to have been in a program in Baltimore, or part of a project in Baltimore, the Open Society Institute, where they partnered with University of Baltimore and their design students. And so for over 3 months we worked with design students to help us rebrand and look at our logo, our messaging. They interviewed our clients that we had worked with. They interviewed our partners in the community. They interviewed just random people to get their thoughts on what they saw, you know, what they thought about when they saw our logo and our website and things like that, and then even our services and all of that. We went through that process over 4 months, and we came out with a new, fresh, new logo. We changed our name. It was the Maryland Foster Youth Resource Center to Hope Forward, you know, a brand that invokes feeling. You know, we wanted our name to really speak to what we wanted to create and the young people we worked with, and we wanted to give them hope to move forward. So Hope Forward was the name that we decided on. We upgraded our website. We, the way that we interacted with our clients, and everything shifted. And from there, you know, we did get more support, and, you know, people felt really good about what we were doing. So I encourage you to look at your branding. That is your message to the world. And what I like to pass on, and I like to do myself, is anything that I create, whether, you know, I've had a couple businesses, my branding around that is I wanted to make sure that I looked like I had been doing the work for years, right? Established, looking like it was clean, looked like you got a big budget for marketing, even though I didn't. And you don't have to. Nowadays, you're in an even better position to be able to save money, but also have a cleaner, your marketing and things to be on point and to be really in line with how people respond to things visually now, because of all the software, because of all the apps, because of all the technology that's going on. You may not be comfortable with technology. There may be something, depending on how old your organization is, what generation you're from. You may not be comfortable with all of these different things. You may not be comfortable with social media or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. But what I'm telling you is, if you want to rebrand yourself and connect with people, because you need to. If you're running a nonprofit, you need to connect with people. If you can't connect with people, then you're not running a nonprofit. Maybe you should switch to a for-profit where you don't really have to get people's input. But even then, you won't be successful, because no matter what endeavor you start, you need people and you need people's input, and you need to be collaborative if you're going to be successful. So, make sure that you come out of your comfort zone. And again, get a professional, get a coach to help walk you through this. It's not on you to have to figure this all out by yourself. And that's probably why you've been stagnant, because you feel like you don't know enough, or it's going to be too much energy to you to try to figure all this stuff out, or you got to go find all these people. It's not that way. If you're watching this right now, you've got somebody here that can help walk you through this process to revitalize and rejuvenate your organization. Or you've got a huge network of people who care about you and care about what you do. If you've been around for a long time, then tap into your networks to ask them, who can come help me with this? A professional that can come help you, walk you through the revitalization of your organization. But now is the time. If you're watching this, now is the time. It's not just enough to just sit on your dream and just the status quo. What I don't understand, I do not compute. I cannot compute. I can't compute that. It's about progress. You have a nonprofit organization. It's about progress. It's about helping people. It's about moving forward. And if you're stagnant right now, it's time to get a little uncomfortable and bring somebody in who's going to come from a place of love to help give you some information that's going to help you turn things around and shift things, starting with you. Okay? So I am, again, Shalita, the nonprofit Easter O'Neill. If you're looking for additional support, if you want one-on-one support, you want to talk, want an initial call just to kind of see where you are and what types of support you need, reach out to me, shalitaoneal.com. I have different ways I can help you, whether it's one-on-one, whether you become a #nonprofit, no filter member, whatever the situation is. We actually have a seminar, the Seed Your Nonprofit for Success seminar, coming up in Maryland. So if you're in the Baltimore, DC metropolitan area, we're going to be at Impact Hub in Baltimore on July 21st, 1 to 5 p.m. If you want to come and learn how to earn the money, right? Get the revenue, set yourself up for success, then you need to come to that. You can find that on shalitaoneal.com as well. So until next time, y'all, be blessed.